Hey, well, the latest here is French people, Parisians, trying to get their last espressos, last drinks in before that new lockdown comes into effect at midnight tonight. That's going to last for as long as 4 weeks. And President Emmanuel Macron announcing that last night in an address to the nation. You could see the reluctance in imposing yet another lockdown because this is going to bring with it tons of fresh economic pain. So here are the terms. Basically, starting tomorrow, you're not going to be able to go to restaurants or bars. Those had already been kind of restrained by a curfew that was in place. But businesses and schools, for the most part, will remain open. Now, the French government is asking that people try to abide by social distancing, try to work from home. A lot of that is voluntary. But to get around in the streets, you're still going to have some sort of permit, some sort of letter, normally signed just by yourself, explaining why you need to be out and about. So there's a lot of similarities with that full lockdown back in the spring. But we're seeing this throughout Europe. In neighboring Germany, they're going to have a lockdown that's going to begin on Monday. And we saw in Ireland just a couple of weeks ago became the first country in Europe to put in a new, fresh, full lockdown. We're probably going to start seeing this throughout the entire continent as the numbers of cases rise, and more crucially, as the number of people in intensive care units increase. Here in Paris, our understanding is that about 2/3 of intensive care beds are now filled with COVID patients. That's a stress on this system that the French government officials feel they can't endure for a second time. Guys?
Matt, I just want to talk about the psyche of the French people around you. You're talking about lockdowns in the United States. It's unclear whether we will have lockdowns, but there is a question of just consumer confidence, whether when you hear that there's a rise in cases, whether people decide, you know what, I'm not going to go to the restaurant, I'm not going to go out today. You were just mentioning the folks behind you taking advantage of these last moments pre-lockdown. Have you already started to see a slowdown, if you will, in terms of foot traffic around the city? Or are people really, this goes to whether people still have the confidence to go out.
No, my understanding, and I've been in Paris now for about 2 months, is that the streets are thinner. I'm standing right here at Trocadero, right in front of the Eiffel Tower. On a normal day, a normal year, this place would be filled with tourists. You probably wouldn't even be able to hear people speaking French around here. The fact is that the tourists are gone, so everything is a lot quieter. But that's been that way for several months. In terms of what's going to be happening now, this fresh lockdown, I haven't noticed anybody kind of staying off the streets because of this, but the streets are thinner. There's a lot fewer people out and about. It's a product of the lack of tourism here. And Paris is filled with tourists in the best of times. So without that, it just feels a lot less populated. But for the most part, it seems as though people are going to be abiding by this, however, reluctantly. Those scenes you saw back in the spring with people playing instruments on their balconies or, clapping for each other, there really isn't that sense of esprit de corps going into this again. People are frustrated. They're not going to be acting as though they have this incredible sense of solidarity. It really just isn't there anymore. People are fed up. And in case the numbers of deaths and the numbers of hospitalizations don't really rise, there are going to be more and more people who are going to be wondering, why is it that we're facing this economic pain when the actual deaths and hospitalizations aren't increasing as much? But we have seen those hospitalizations rising in the last week or two.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.